I'm a legal immigrant. I've been here 35 years. I'm a naturalized citizen. I earned my right to be in the United States.
It's so clear you've suffered a very real loss and a tragedy, and yet that same government and media seem to want to minimize that or almost wish you just went away.
My son's work and his taxes he paid for the guy who killed him.
Welcome to No Border, No Country. We're talking today about crimes committed against American citizens by people here illegally. Our guest is Sabine Durden-Coulter, who's an angel mom, who's a very vocal voice on this topic. Sabine, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Absolutely pleasure.
People who follow our issues are probably familiar with you, but for those who aren't, can you tell us a little bit about the work you do and about Dominic's story?
Absolutely. I wasn't into politics. I just enjoyed being Dominic's mom. And we shared a household together after his dad and I got divorced. And life was just the best. We had a lot of plans. He was exceptional with the sheriff's department as a dispatcher. And our lives changed drastically on July 12th, 2012, when an illegal alien with three felonies, deportations, they had him so many times, took his unregistered, uninsured, and of course he was unlicensed truck and turned it in front of Dominic as he was going to work on his motorcycle. The impact was so hard that it killed Dominic instantly. And the guy was trying to flee, but there were witnesses and they stopped him. The first responders that showed up couldn't work the scene because they all knew Dominic. He was a friend of theirs. Fire department showed up. They couldn't work it because he volunteered with them. And finally, they had to call Highway Patrol. The illegal alien was from Guatemala. He had armed robbery, grand theft, no license, and just 5 weeks prior to Dominic's death, he had his second DUI. And he was under the influence, but right under the legal limit. So our lives, his brilliant future was destroyed. And matter of fact, yesterday would have been his 42nd birthday. So 12 years we've been without him, and it still feels like it was just last month. The illegal alien was known by the court, by the DA, who promised me to give justice to Dominic and make sure his life wasn't in vain. And the illegal alien went to court, told the judge that it's like I'm still in that courtroom. It's like a movie flashing, that he was just on his way to work and no responsibility, nothing. He got 9 misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter, 5 years probation, and 9 years. And he served only 35 days. 35 days. He got released from custody because I guess he was so trustworthy. And I was shocked he came back for the sentencing. But it's been a slap in my face. And since then, I started waking up. I didn't know it was an illegal at first. They didn't tell me. That's what they're doing right now. You hardly find out if it's an illegal or not. It's sad because the public doesn't really know how bad it is. How many Americans get killed or harmed by illegals? But after about a year, I started waking up and researching and meeting other angel parents. And I said, my son's life meant something and still means something. So for the last almost 12 years, I've been fighting. I've been to DC. I go to everywhere they want to hear Dominic's story, whether it's 10,000 people or 5 people. I'm sharing the danger of illegal immigration. And the saddest part is I still get called racist. And I say, how's that possible? This is my son. We called him German chocolate because he was born in Germany. And he spoke fluent German. I'm a legal immigrant. I've been here 35 years. I'm a naturalized citizen. I earned my right to be in the United States. And the hoops I had to jump through, money spent, all that. And now you have wide open borders. You have people flooding in that we have no clue, because Even if they fly, they don't even need a picture or a passport or anything. They just get in their special line and travel all over the United States. And it has nothing to do with race. It has nothing to do with anything but law and order. And we can't continue this way because I've met too many angel moms and I held them, cried with them, and I still lose it. This pain never gets easier because it was 100% preventable. And a young man that was so full of life and promises for a brilliant future with the sheriff's department in Riverside, California. He was going to be a helicopter pilot. Everybody loved him. They still celebrate him on his birthday. The impact he had on people. He was volunteer of the year. All that was wiped out because somebody was here that didn't belong here, had no right to be here, and didn't care about our laws.
So unfortunately, this continues to happen. And just recently, over the past few days, we've had a situation that was very similar to Dominic's. There was an individual who was deported 4 times, had 5 prior DUI convictions, who killed a mother and a son in Colorado. And closer to home here in Maryland, there was a woman who was murdered by an MS-13 gang member. Why do you think this keeps happening? Why does the government tolerate this?
There are no consequences. You know, if people would just for a moment think about if you have every day just 10 people, or let's take 5 people, walk into your house or break into your house, whatever, and you're going to sit there, use your ATM, your food, and expect you to take care of them medically because, you know, hospital is free for illegals. There are no consequences. Of course, that's bringing more in. You get a free flight as soon as you come over the border. It's with a child. When you don't put consequences down and tell them that that's enough and then have an action to their reaction, that's all it takes. We got to take away the freebies, and it makes me so angry. Yesterday, I was about to explode and have a heart attack and a stroke all in one. It's enough that our government, our administration doesn't close the border because they could. All they got to do is apply the laws we already have in the books. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We got it. Just do that. But they don't. And then the Supreme Court comes in and says, yeah, you can remove the barbed wire. What in the world is this? Are we a country with a sovereignty, with security for our own? No, they're kicking Americans out of retirement homes. Children now in, I think it was New Jersey, have to study from home again on Zoom because they need the school to house illegals because the tent they put up didn't work all that well. The money that is spent is in the billions every year. That those billions could be spent on our own people that need help. Our own first.
Can you contrast that? You're an immigrant yourself, as you mentioned, from Germany. So contrast the way these people are being allowed to just walk across the border and get the royal treatment versus the process that you had to go through to immigrate to the United States. Can you tell us about that?
Of course. I had to apply, and I was married to a service member. He was in the military. We were stationed in Germany. We got orders for the United States. So I had to go through a process of a thick stack of paper, filling out who I am, what I've been doing, why I'm going to the States. And I had to have money in an account. I had to have a sponsor in the United States. They dissected me, and I had to go through medical to find out whether I have a disease or anything. So I came over here and I received an alien card that I carried like a little passport. And I was proud of it because I can't just expect to walk in here and get everything for free. Matter of fact, I had to sign paperwork that I could not receive any welfare from this country. And it was okay because I didn't pay into it yet. And then I applied for citizenship, which took me 6 years of endless probing and questions and answers and interviews in person. So when I finally received that little American flag and I was sworn in LA as an American citizen, it was one of the proudest moments right after the birth of my son. And that's gone. The people that are now standing in line to become citizens, to come here the legal way, what a slap in our faces because, matter of fact, my sister couldn't come over to America to visit me during COVID. I told her, I say, fly to Tijuana and just walk over. You get a free phone, you get money, and they send you here for free. The double standard is screaming.
Anyone who listens to the language today that comes out of our government and our media, it seems like they're always in a rush to prop up some person or group as a victim. This one's a victim of that, and some often under suspicious circumstances that they might not really be. And yet, when you have these angel families, it's so clear you've suffered a very real loss and a tragedy, and yet that same government and media seem to want to minimize that or almost wish you just went away. What do you think's behind that?
They try to change the narrative. They try to have people feel sorry for those poor, and then they call them migrants or even immigrants, and it drives me up the wall because I'm an undocumented immigrant if I leave my license at home. They are illegal aliens and nothing less. So they're already trying to slant that. They want people to feel sorry for these people. And sadly, I meet people that do exactly that. And I talk to them. I don't dislike you because you have a different opinion, but I try to wake them up. If this would happen in their own home, they would call the cops. They wouldn't want these people removed. But here we bring up women, and I'm sorry for every life lost, whether it's that illegal woman with the 2 kids that drowned in the Rio Grande that they claimed that, Abbott is at fault for. He wasn't. There are billions made by cartels, by shady politicians on all sides in Mexico. Everybody is making a lot of money, especially the cartels. So they tell people on the other side in other countries, oh, how easy it is to get here, because you always see the illegals when they get through a fence, they film themselves and they send that home, and the people believe it that they're welcome here. And it's not. They have to go through hell to get here. So if people in the media would just be honest and report not their opinion, but what's actually happening, a lot of lives on every side, on the Mexican side and on our side would be saved. But it's a lot of money. It's a lot of power. It changes the voting aspect of it. The more people you have, illegals are counted in the census. Why? They shouldn't be here. And the sob stories by illegals, they told what to say. I get it. But angel moms and dads have been forgotten. And so I appreciate you guys so much for having me on to share Dominic. But sadly, there are many more stories. I talk to angel moms that contact me. They don't want to be interviewed. They can't deal with it yet. So I'm kind of a little shoulder to cry on because I understand their pain. But we need to change the narrative that the ones breaking into our house are now a victim. They're not. They're not.
So your son was in law enforcement. He was working for the sheriff's department. And there has been this tendency, and it's been particularly strong in places like Massachusetts and California, of the local police to refuse to cooperate with immigration and customs enforcement and with Customs and Border Protection. How does that make you feel, given the fact that your son worked for the sheriff's department and was the victim of an illegal alien?
I don't even have a word for it because the old words like outraged and angry, they don't even match how I feel. It's like with Border Patrol, police, law enforcement. There are those who want to do right, who know that they have to follow orders because, well, they need their paycheck. They have a family at home. They have a house payment and so forth. But I know a lot of them that they're not liking it. They hate when somebody tells them, well, no, just ignore that. And especially in Riverside, where Dominic was so well loved and known. I get notes little messages from cops sometime, and it says, got one for Dominic. And I know what it means. They got another illegal for Dominic. So I'm hopeful, and my faith is strong. It gotten stronger through the last couple of years that we still can write this because there are too many good people, but they're being held back by some crooked ones. And I don't understand how a government and a Supreme Court can do everything they can for illegal aliens to feel welcome and warm and fuzzy, financially, all of that. While our own, we have too many out on the streets in horrible living conditions that need a hand up. And it seems right now, if you're not in my next life, I'm coming back as an illegal. I'm going to clean up. I'm not going through 6 years. I'm going to travel the world for free. But, and I got to keep a little humor. Otherwise, I would fall apart. But people really need to wake up, because what scares me the most, and it's already coming through, when you have illegal aliens in any city, let's just say New York, because they were a sanctuary. Oh, welcome in, everybody. We want you here. We're humans. You are guys are you. We need. Oh no, stop. We don't need no more. Now the crime went up. When they don't get money anymore or freebies, what they gonna do? They're not gonna go home. They already going to house with their children up front, distracting the people, breaking into homes, hurting the homeowners while they ransack the house. Crime is going to be so bad because it's not sustainable. We have no money to house and feed and take care of illegals. The Denver hospital is broke because they had a couple of $1 million in unpaid bills. So it always comes back to the American citizen or the legal immigrant that they're going to feel this. Everybody's feeling it already in their wallet. We pay an arm and a leg. Well, somebody else gets it for free. I have friends that couldn't get to see their specialist because the hospitals are full. Because when an illegal alien has a hangnail, guess where they're going? Emergency room. Nobody turns them away. And somebody got to pay for it. And I'm tired of paying for them. Matter of fact, I'm still upset where the killer of Dominic had a defender for him that was still paid out of my son's taxes. So my son's work and his taxes he paid for the guy who killed him. And I don't know what else it takes, because I don't want every American to lose a loved one before they understand that this is, it's not hateful to say, listen, take care of our own. I take care of my family first. And when they taken care of, I can help the neighbor. That's it. It's just plain and simple. And I just don't understand some people, because I hate it. And I had it happen where somebody used to argue with me and then their child died at the hands of an illegal alien. It was a different conversation after that. It doesn't need to happen. We need to stop this now, enforce the laws, but I don't know. I'm not a politician. They asked me to run for office. I could never do that, because I like to say what I feel and what I mean and not have to, look over my shoulder if I'm okay to say no.
You're too honest, Sabine. It would never work.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm holding back right now. And yeah. And they try to get me. When I'm out there, whether it's in D.C. at events, there's always somebody who tried to bait me into losing it so they can film me and they say, see, we knew it. We knew it, she said racist. I don't. I mean, at home and what's going on in my head is a whole different story. But I'm trying to keep it clean and reasonable and listen to people, because a lot of times when we come and we hear somebody else and then tell them our experience, it might get through. It's planting a little seed. Might not work right away, but it might work down the road. And we just got to take care of our own.
It seems like now things have gotten so bad, and there's no shortage of people offering solutions as far as how we fix this crisis. But when it comes to this particular issue, crimes committed in this country by people here illegally against Americans, what do you think are maybe the 2 or 3 things that need to happen to address this problem? If you could do anything tomorrow and make those things happen, what would they be?
Well, I would flip back to the policies that were in place before they were changed. Follow the laws on the book. If you enter anywhere illegally, I don't care what they call the people who do that, but it's still an illegal act. I don't care about the amnesty claim. We know that's being abused and all that. implement our laws that are on the book and stop with the free hospital, the food stamps, the free housing. In Maine, they build a new apartment building where illegals get to stay 2 years for free. It doesn't even make sense. I don't want nobody on the street, but hello, this is America, and we have Americans that could use that. Just plain enforce our laws and strengthen our border and stop messing whether there are containers there or barbed wire or buoys in the water. Anything that will stop that flow, do it. Don't just talk. I'm tired of on both sides. I'm tired of the endless years of we should do this, we got to do this. Well, do it. I'm still waiting for something to actually work where it slows down that flow. Go after the cartels. They own the border in Mexico. Go after the politicians that get handouts. We know there's a lot of under the table. I want answers where 83,000 unaccompanied minors are that came across Mexican border. Where they at? Nobody knows. They've been handed over to sponsors. A lot of kids end up in sex trafficking. They did. They in snuff films. Well, be aware if you look up snuff films, that's going to change your sleep pattern big time. But that's what's happening, and nobody's stopping it. So I want people that are in charge, that have the ability to do something, to do it. Listen to the sheriffs, to Border Patrol, who can tell you what's going on. Tom Holman has been a good friend of mine for many years, and we talk. And the things I hear from him, and we both sit and cry. Listen to that man. Listen to you guys. You have sources. But talking and what we're going to do isn't cutting it anymore. We have, when they talk about 11 million that we have here, that's a number that's been passed. I think more 40, 50 million. We don't even know for sure because there are a lot of gotaways. Nobody knows how many there are. Biden brought in millions in the 3 years. He was telling us during his campaign that we have room for 2 million more. Well, it's past that now. And when I see a little grandma in front of me in the store having to put back one of the 4 items she can afford, she doesn't have any more. And then I see illegals, and yes, I have a radar for them, not a racial radar, but I just know. And they have a cart full of steaks and everything, and they're not paying for that because they have a debit card loaded. Ooh, I really have to hold back before I go off. Yeah.
One of the things that you just mentioned, I think, is interesting. We're giving everything away for free. So we have a giant magnet that is bringing these people here. And It only makes sense if you're in a situation where you're not getting things for free to move to a place where you're getting them. But long term, it's building up a giant bill that we can't afford. Yeah. So what do you think this is going to do to things like police and fire protection, hospitals, all of those kind of things?
Well, the $451 billion that are spent on illegal aliens, plus all the NGOs, non-governmental agencies that get paid back from the government while helping and handing out freebies to illegals, we're running out of money. So they, like you said, police, fire department, first responders, it's coming from there. They have to cut back. Everybody has to cut back because the money has to come from somewhere. And it comes from our taxes as well. So the services, let's say for our veterans, I just found out, and I wrote it down, that in 22, Department of Veterans Affairs processed 161,000 claims, medical, dental claims for illegal aliens. And guess who didn't get the services? A lot of veterans were pushed behind the line, off the line, out of the building. $451 billion a year. Wow. What could we do with our own, the little cities? I'm in a very small town in Arkansas. There are people living in I wouldn't even call it a home. Man, we could help some guys that fought for this country, who witnessed their brothers being blown up. They don't get the help. I mean, if an illegal goes to California, they can have a sex change thanks to the taxpayer. It just, these kind of things are not talked about in the media. They make it sound like it's Disneyland for illegals, and we're just going to have to take it because actually they are human beings and they deserve that. Yeah, in their own country. But as long as these freebies, and there are so many more, as long as that flows, what's going to change? So we need people to stand up, and people ask me, well, what can I do? I don't go out to talk at events or interviews. I say, call your representative. Like here in Arkansas, there's a talk about driver license for illegals. They don't drive better. Just like you can hand me a ID for being a brain surgeon. I'm sure none of you guys would come and have your brain being worked on by me. The license means nothing. They don't drive safer. But people can call their representatives. Let them know it's enough. We don't stand for this anymore. Call them once a week. Call DC. They have a switchboard. They can get you to the person you want to talk to that's in charge of your state. Talk about it with your friends. Talk about it with your neighbors in church. But it's still this whispering about it. Oh, I did a Biden right now. Whispering about it. But no, we need to talk openly about it because we've been at a breaking point. We have wars going on. We have despair in the inner cities. I mean, I'm pretty lucky out here. It's calm. Plus, farmers around here, we all have guns, so that's another thing. But I feel horrible for the kids now growing up, and if we as adults don't do anything right now, especially the grandparents, what you leaving your grandchild? What kind of world? We gotta do better. We gotta get louder and braver. And people will call you. They call me racist. It's like, okay, yawn. How about going to sleep and find something better by tomorrow? It's just a distraction. But I wish people would get louder and speak about it. They get all worked up about some Taylor Swift and this. It doesn't matter in our daily life. But illegal immigration, and I'm getting emotional because I never got to hold a grandchild. My son couldn't walk me down the aisle. And it wasn't because he was careless and had a motorcycle crash. It was because one illegal alien was catered to, released. Oh, don't do this no more. And when he did it again, oh, please don't do it no more. So almost 12 years later, my life's never the same. I'm never the same again. So if people don't wake up, you're gonna feel this pain. And I can't even describe it. You're gonna feel the despair. When you look at pictures one day and you smile because you have a memory, and the next day you look at the same picture and you lose it. So I'm begging people to just start talking about it. Educate yourself. While you're on Facebook doing God knows what, or online, research a little bit. Go to your website. There are many sources for information, and not necessarily the news on TV, because they're all slanted however they need it. Because I watch all of them.
Sabine, where can people find out more about yourself and the work you're doing?
If you go to domhugs, DOM, huts.com, I post where I go, speeches, what I do, what's going on. I try to keep it light, so even the ones who don't like left or right, it doesn't matter. It's just the story of Dominic and what he left behind. So domhugs.com. I'm on Facebook, and I'm back on Twitter.
Congratulations.
Yes, I was banned for 2 years. It must have been something I said. But yeah, I'm back. I'm stubborn. I'm German by birth, and I'm a Scorpio, so it worked out. Yeah, reach out whether you agree with me or not. I love talking with somebody that has a different opinion. because we can learn. Matter of fact, I was invited to the Dr. Phil show last year, and it blew my mind, because that's usually a whole other side where, illegals are the victims, and we don't call them illegals, we call them undocumented. But never say never, because I never thought I would be interviewed by you guys, that I would be on Dr. Phil or featured in a movie where they took the stories of a veteran who was drug addicted, of an illegal alien who was promised the world. She thought she would come over here and shop at Beverly Hills Rodeo Drive every day and go to Disneyland every week. She was raped along the way. She was handed over from one gang to the next. And she is in LA in a hole that she calls home and afraid to go out because she has PTSD. That can be prevented. So I'm not heartless for people trying to come here, because if my neighbor down the road has an open door, all the food I need, all the money I need, I'm going there too. So unless she puts a guard and stops all that, and a fence and maybe some armed guards, yeah, I would try to. So it's just not about what somebody deserves or not deserves. We have laws to go by. We can't just drive around and hit people and say, oops, I didn't mean it, and then go home. There are laws to be followed, and every country has laws. And then if you look up, Mexico, you can't sneak into Mexico and get any money or apartment for free. Your family would be looking for you for about a couple of months. Say, where is she at? Oh, she went to. That wouldn't happen because they protect their country, and rightfully so. Hungary in Europe, they don't take in any refugees or illegal. They know why. Let every country take care of their own. And if the people from other countries don't like their own, work on it, change it. Because I had to learn to adapt to the American way of life. I wasn't living in Germany anymore. So it's natural. I'm here. I follow the American law. Yeah, we need to get tougher.
Sabine Durden-Coulter, thank you so much for telling us your story and joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me and giving Dominic a voice, and all these other families that know the pain and will get to know the pain. Thank you so much for all you do.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the podcast. If you liked what you saw today, you found it useful, hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. If you'd like to learn more about the Immigration Reform Law Institute, go to irli.org. If you want to support the show and early, go to irli.org/podcast. You can also hear us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and other platforms. And don't forget to check us out on all of the social media platforms as well. Thanks a lot.